Hello everyone, today I want to organize some of this mess. Because now that we have the warehouses, we can store some of the goods in here and access them anywhere we want. I specifically want the iron to go on here, as well as the copper. And then I think we have one left, so we may also just add the concrete to it as well. First of all, let's get rid of all of this. That's just kind of in the way at the moment. I love how it says the inventory is full, but there's space there. But that's most likely because this stack's too big. I guess it's a lot easier if I just put the drill this way. Add a forge to that. Then we need to go through a two-way splitter. Because next up we're going to need some part producers. And that's most likely going to overload the inventory again. Yeah, but at least we get the supplies in hand that we need, so that's good. Then these I will have right next to each other. They'll go in like so. And one can make plates. And one can make rods. Dump in a bunch of iron already, just because I don't need all of this at the moment. And there's so much laying on the floor here. Then it's just as simple as connecting it to the warehouse. And this way we have infinite plates, as well as infinite rods. Next up I want to add the copper wires as well as the copper plates to the system. It's already been set up relatively nicely, so I think that this is gonna look very messy if I do it this way. So let's do it a little shorter. Let's see, I need it to go to that one. Actually no, I don't need it to go to that one. Okay, I need it to go to that one over there. That way, this one can go to the middle one. Alright, it doesn't look super good, but at least it doesn't look as terrible. Next up I want to get the cement maker and add that to it as well. There was a rock right here, so we can connect up an advanced miner, get a forge in place, and that can go directly into the conveyor. And there we go, and that cleans up the inventory quite nicely. And we have access to all of these supplies. However, in order to make the tier 1 warehouses, we also require some glass panes. So we're going to have to add that to the menu as well. Now that's simple enough, that's just a little bit of silica. So let's head over to where all these quartz were coming from. And set up something here. There's also a drill around here for sulfur. And there's another iron node here as well, which is good. We're going to need to smelt all the quartz that come out here. And then they need to split. And then I made a fatal mistake. I made an extra circuit board, as we were going to need that for the part producer. I didn't keep in mind that the splitter also requires one. So that's kind of annoying. We'll have to walk back. Seems like everything is backing up quite nicely. Everything except for the plates. Funny enough. I do think that's probably because it requires multiple bars. Let's just make a couple of these circuit boards. Eventually we'll want to auto-craft these as well. And with eventually, I mean very soon. Because we actually require quite a lot of them. Same with the beams. Those are two items I want to have auto-crafted. Shouldn't be that hard. This one is just plates and rods. This one is copper and silica. There's probably a copper and quartz vein somewhere close by. Well, there isn't. Well, problem for another day, I suppose. I also need to remember that rock, as well as iron ore, are something I need to put into the system. I always forget to do that, and it's very annoying if you eventually need them and you don't have them. It's not like they're hard to come by, it's more of an annoyance rather than anything else. Alright, part producer is in place. This will start creating glass. That's connected up to here. And then this will automatically produce everything we need for the warehouses. So now we can set up anything we need anywhere we want. Talking about that, why the hell did that go all the way up? Sometimes these things are a mystery to me. But yeah, let's connect the sulfur up to the warehouse. Since we have so many iron deposits laying about, what I'll do with this one is just connect it straight up to the warehouse. That way we have our iron ore. I'll also do that with a rock. But there we go. All this is now being collected. Alright, let's see. What else do we need to chop off this list? Iron beams and gears would be great. Iron beams is going to be quite expensive, seeing as it's going to require this, a computer and rotors. But I do think setting that up early is beneficial. And there is a nice iron deposit right here. Preferably, I would like to use 2 iron deposits on this, just because it goes a lot faster that way. And rubber is also something I want to automate. Oh, I really need to automate that. We don't even have it. Yeah, after this thing is done, we definitely need to set up a automated way to get rubber. But for now, let's start working on the smaller components. So this will turn into plates. But this can start producing the iron rods. Alright, I'm gonna disconnect this thing real quick. I don't think it requires anything anymore. Because I don't think it works anymore. Like, not farther than this anyway. I think it already did its full job. Also, this tree is not supposed to be here. But it kind of looks like it's growing out of the greenhouse, which is funny. Alright, there we go. We got our rotor. Means we can make the assembly machine. And this will start creating the iron beams. Of course, it also requires its own warehouse. Alright, I think my next big goal is to make the rubber. Which, annoyingly enough, will require rotors again, which means rubber belts. Alright, and because I want to purify this water around here anyway, we may as well start over here with our rubber production. Could have probably made the supplies for it, eh? Alright, we can make the water purifier. I'm gonna put it a little farther into the lake. I think that's just a smarter idea. Then we need a water pump, probably multiple. But we only have so many rotors, of course. I forgot we needed organics to build this thing. I think that is going through a couple things. Yes. But, you know what? If you don't tell anyone, it's not there. Alright, so organics, it has to go for a 2-step process. But also, I want to have the organics by itself. So we need to split it once. Then organics will go in. Then we need a part producer. This will create the rubber. That will lock onto another splitter. One side can go into the warehouse. Need another part producer. And this one will take the rubber and create rubber belts out of them. And that can go straight into the system. And then let's go up slightly. And that can connect over there. There we go, now we got gears into the system. And I think that's honestly most of the base materials done. Which means it's time for some of the more crafty ones. Such as circuit boards and potentially rotors. Rotors could be fine, we need copper technically for both. And if I remember right, we cannot put 2 drills on a node, right? Let me have a quick look at that. No. Alright, let's check out the map. So we do have water right here, as well as a copper deposit. So that's good. The one where we need quartz for is just going to be such a pain. Because there's like full mountains in between. We would potentially do that on another island then. Which honestly, the filters is also something we need to auto-craft. As well as antenna, which requires bloody copper once again. Alright, let's set up the entire chain for our rubber collector. Alright, there we go. We're creating the rubber. We do also need the big assembly one. I forgot to make the computer for that. Alright, the copper is going to have to go through a couple stages as well. First, it's going to need to be turned into ingots. And then afterwards, it can be turned into the wire. And then both of them can go into the assembly machine. And that can start creating rotors automatically. And also, I noticed that there was a sulfur deposit down here. Somewhere. May as well connect that up as well. And then use the other sulfur deposit for something else. Because we also need filters. Seeing as there is some iron in the vicinity, may as well make that over there. So that is connected. For filters though, we once again need an assembly machine. Alright, for filters, we have to go all the way over there to that iron deposit, because we're going to need plates. Then we take it all the way back, and then we connect it up to the assembly machine. Get rid of this conveyor. The sulfur can also be connected to it. That will create filters, and then filters can go into the system. We will need to take out all the sulfur though. I will admit it's very satisfying. We slowly add stuff off the list. Honestly, the next big thing is the circuit board. For that, we're going to need silica, as well as copper plates. So let's check our little map. Seems like the island below us, half of it is not hot. So I think it's this one right here. And then we just place an antenna up on this island. And then we can see what is all around. We'll build a little compartment so we can chill in here while we check all this out. So there is... You cannot tell me there's nothing, game. That's not how that works. Right, but it can tell me there's nothing if there is no power. That is also not a whole lot. But there is copper and there is quartz right there. That is in the hot zone, though. There's also a building right there. Conveniently right next to iron and quartz, because I think that also made something, but I don't really remember what. Or was it iron and copper and I've made the antenna, maybe? Yeah, I might be thinking about that. Alright. Go over into the hot area. Well, it's not the hottest area. Because then we're kind of doomed. Interesting. I'm not here to dilly-dally, though. This is extreme temperature. That's not good. We have to hurry the heck up. And I'm not really hurrying the heck up. Actually, thinking about it, right? We can just chill in... Is our door here? Come on, door. If this works similarly to the frozen area, we should be safe in here. Yes, good. Eat some food, and then we can just use the drone to do most of the work. Because why risk our lives? Right. This was the iron deposit area. Whoops. I guess while we're here anyway. Ooh, sensor array. That's pretty good. Bunch of food. Heck yeah. Is there another note? There is. Radiation level spiked again. It's the same damn particle. Dr. Lee's exposure is too high. We can't keep this up. We're abandoning this base and we're regrouping at the landing site. I'll recommend evac. I'm guessing there was a radiation zone, so I'm guessing we're gonna find something big in that area. Ooh, insulated layers. Huh. A standard O2 tanks. We can just dump those right on us. Alright, let's get the heck out of here. Alright, let's go over to the site where we actually did see the copper. That is right here. Annoyingly, we cannot use our drone. I don't know if this regular one is. Yep. This is the extremely hot zone. We do require reinforced compartments. That is kind of a pain in the ass. Not gonna lie. Because for that, we're going to need gold. Oh man, there's so much other stuff we gotta do then. Alright, you know what? I'm going back to base for now. There's also that mossy area as well. I really want to check that out. We're not going to do all that today. I think before we set up circuit boards, our next big goal should just be the getting gold. Which means we're going to have to scour some of the other locations for that. That way we can establish a research base. We're also going to need steel and basalt concrete, which shouldn't be that difficult to get. But we'll figure that out next time. We've added quite a bit to the storage system. We can basically auto-craft most items, like the advanced miners, the forge. Getting the water pumps and greenhouse up is all automatic now. It just goes a little slow, so we might have to set up a second one for rotors. But that will have to wait for next time. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you all on the next one. Bye everyone.